7 bone-chilling babysitter horror stories that haunt you forever. Don't watch alone at midnight. The clock ticked ominously as the night settled in, draping the world in a cloak of shadow and terror. It was precisely midnight when 13-year-old Mia first felt the chill crawling up her spine. The air thick with unease seemed to shift with whispered sighs, and Mia's heart raced as she glanced toward the darkened corners of the living room. The shadows twisted and danced, forming shapes that ignited her imagination with unspeakable horrors. They say babysitting was simple work, a way to earn a few bucks. But tonight felt different, plagued by an unsettling air that made her skin prickle. Outside, the wind howled like a banshee, rattling the windows as if begging to enter. Mia tightened her grip around the phone, her thoughts racing. Was she really alone? Despite the flickering television casting weak light across the room, Mia felt the penetrating darkness seep inside her. Just last week, she had listened to friends share tales about babysitters and the things they encountered. A shadow lurking behind curtains, a door creaking open with no one there, and that one horrifying story about a babysitter who heard a subtle voice coming from the baby monitor begging for help. Mia swallowed hard. Pushing aside the terrifying images, Mia pulled her phone closer, scrolling through social media posts about the many ways babysitting could go wrong. Those stories played in her mind like haunting melodies, echoing their sinister lessons. A sudden noise from the upstairs room broke her thoughts, a soft thudding that made her heart lurch. She froze. The children were supposed to be asleep. Had she miscounted? With a shuddering breath, she stood, the wooden floor creaking under her weight, each step forward like a drumbeat heralding a reckoning. Just as she reached the bottom of the staircase, her phone buzzed fiercely, startling her back to reality. She jumped, nearly dropping it. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. She shook her head, trying to dispel the unease, but the fear clung to her like fog. With her pulse echoing in her ears, she looked up the staircase, dark and indifferent. The thudding increased, slow and insistent, like a heartbeat of doom. She steeled herself, a lump forming in her throat, as she took her first step up the stairs. What awaited her in the almost magnetic pull of the eerie silence? The mystery deepened with every step she took. Was it just her imagination, or was someone or something waiting for her at the top? Mia's heart thundered in her chest, each beat a reminder of the risk she faced. She reached the first landing, where the narrow hall stretched ahead, dimly lit by the soft glow emanating from a distant nightlight. The air was thick, almost suffocating. The thuds were now quieter, muffled, yet there was a palpable tension, as if silence itself was holding its breath. Maybe it was just the wind, she whispered to herself, trying to manage the rising panic. Yet, the haunting stories she'd heard echoed in her mind, taunting her bravado. She took another cautious step. Each footfall felt like a declaration of her determination, or maybe her foolishness. As she approached the children's bedroom, she paused to listen. The sudden silence that enveloped the corridor made her heart skip a beat. Had she imagined the sounds entirely? A gust of wind rattled the window, snapping her back to reality. No, she wasn't alone. Swallowing hard, she let out a shuddering breath and knocked softly at the door. Milo? Sophie? Are you okay? Her voice trembled, barely more than a whisper. Moments ticked by before a small voice trickled out. Yeah, but there was something odd about the way it came out. It sounded wrong, off, in a way she couldn't place. Her instinct screamed at her to run, but instead, she turned the knob slowly. The door creaked open, revealing the dimly lit room. Inside, the children's beds were empty. The blankets lay neatly folded, untouched, as if they hadn't been used in hours. Panic surged inside her, a tide of dread pulling her under. "Milo? Sophie?" she called again, her voice shaky. Her eyes darted around the room, searching for any sign of movement. Then she caught at the closet door was slightly ajar. Almost instinctively, she felt drawn to it, heart racing, every nerve alight with a sense of danger. As she stepped closer, she thought she could hear faint giggles, muffled, from within. "Milo? Sophie, are you in there?" She grasped the handle, but hesitated. What if they were playing a game? What if she opened the door and found nothing? Or worse, what if she found something she could never unsee? A swift, cold draft brushed past her, sending chills down her spine, and the giggling stopped. A heavy silence gripped her again, making the air feel thick and electric. With newfound determination, she yanked the closet door open. What she saw made her blood run cold. An empty space stared back at her, but it was more than just emptiness. The shadows seemed to pulse, shifting around her as if they had a life of their own, closing in on her. And then, from behind her, she heard that soft thud again, closer this time, heavy and deliberate, as footsteps echoed slowly down the hall. They weren't footsteps of the children. A cold sweat trickled down her back, and she forced herself to turn, praying she wouldn't see what her gut was telling her was true. But as she turned, the weight of dread settled into her bones. In her peripheral vision, a figure loomed near the staircase, indistinct but undeniably present, watching her with an unnerving stillness. Mia's mind reeled. Who or what was there? Why did she feel its gaze so deeply? Before she could run, the figure moved, and it came directly towards her, shrouded in shadow. Her heart raced, a relentless surge of fear overtaking every rational thought. "Get away!" she screamed as she stumbled back, tripping over a toy and crashing into the wall, the air leaving her lungs in a gasp. Was this a nightmare? Or was it just beginning? The darkness surged, and as it reached for her with abominable intent, Mia realized in a panic this was not the babysitting gig she had signed up for. Who was watching her, and what horrific purpose did they have? As shadows closed in around her, she was left wondering, would she become just another ghost story? Mia's scream hung in the air, a high-pitched wail laced with fear. The figure, still veiled in shadows, hesitated, just for a moment, almost as if it was savoring her terror. And then, faster than she could comprehend, it lunged towards her, a dark flash in the dimly lit room. Mia stumbled backward, her heart racing like a rabbit caught in a snare. She caught a glimpse of an elongated arm reaching out, fingers twisted and claw-like, dripping with an unnatural darkness. The terror surging through her veins propelled her into action, and she spun around, darting toward the bedroom door. As she burst into the hallway, the air felt electric against her skin. Dim flickers of light from the nightlight at the end of the corridor danced ominously. She sprinted, her breath coming out in frantic gasps. The sound of her footsteps echoed behind her, but all she could think about was escape. She turned a corner, skidding on the hardwood floor. The walls closed in, almost suffocating her with memories of the awful stories her friends had recounted about this very house. The tales of laughter turning to screams, of shadows taking on form, of children vanishing without a trace. Was she running from the remnants of a ghost story? Whipping her head around, she glanced back just as the closet door slammed shut. It sent a shiver racing down her spine. She nearly stumbled again, but managed to regain her footing. There was no escaping the chilling realization that the thing was still behind her. Just when she thought she'd left it behind, another clamoring thud echoed in the hall, as if it enjoyed the chase. "Me?" a small voice called out. She froze. It was Milo, his innocent tone clawing at her fraying nerves. "Milo, stay where you are," she shouted, but her heart sank as she realized she had to find him before the thing did. Fear rippled through the shadows, an inescapable veil closing in. Mia rushed towards the children's playroom, praying she would find them hidden among their toys. The door was slightly ajar, the dim light barely illuminating the chaotic assortment of stuffed animals and scattered books. "Milo! Sophie!" she cried, panic lacing her voice. Just then, she spotted them tucked behind a large, inflatable dinosaur, their wide eyes filled with confusion. Relief flooded her. But that relief quickly turned to dread when she noticed the way they were staring past her, transfixed by something unseen. "Me?" Milo whimpered, his voice quaking. Us coming before she could process his words. A shadow loomed behind her, darker than night itself. It coiled tightly around her, and a chill coursed through her veins. She dared not look, but she felt its breath cold and heavy whispering through her hair. "Run!" Mia shouted at the kids, urging them forward. "Get outside. Now!" As she turned to flee with them, the shadow reached for her, its cold fingers grazing her arm. She felt a bone-deep fear unlike anything she'd ever known, but adrenaline pushed her onward. "Go! I'll hold it off," she cried, determination surging within her. They had to survive. Milo and Sophie darted toward the front door, the children's laughter now sounding like an ominous echo in her mind. Just as they reached for the door, it slammed shut with a resounding crack, the sound reverberating through the house like a death knell. Panic-stricken, Mia ran toward them. But the shadow closed in faster, twining around her legs, pulling her down, whispering dreadful things in a voice she couldn't understand. "Don't leave me," she screamed, stretching out her arms toward them. When it pulled her into its suffocating embrace, Mia glimpsed the children's terrified faces through the glass door, shadows dancing in their wide eyes. And then, just like that, the world went black. What horror awaited her in the clutches of darkness? Would she find a way back to the light? Or was she destined to share the fate of so many others lost in this forsaken place? Mia's senses were bombarded by a deafening silence, enveloping her like a heavy blanket. She couldn't move. The floor beneath her felt soft, almost sponge-like, and strange sensations pulsed through her limbs as if they didn't belong to her anymore. Shadows draped heavily over her, thick and suffocating, yet they seemed to shift and sway, whispering secrets in dark tongues. "Milo! Sophie!" she shouted, but her voice came out as a mere echo, swallowed by the darkness pressing in from every side. Panic clawed at her throat as she fought against the invisible chains binding her. What had happened? Where were her children? The ground jerked beneath her, and she felt herself being pulled down further into the abyss. Flashes of light flickered at the corners of her vision, dancing just out of reach. She focused, willing her mind to cut through the haze. Could she escape? Desperate thoughts surged forward. She had to find Milo and Sophie. They deserved more than being caught in whatever nightmare this was. Suddenly, a low growl reverberated through the air, chilling her bones. It felt as if it came from everywhere and nowhere all at once. The very walls seemed to pulse with the sinister rhythm. Something was watching. The sensation prickled her skin. She strained her ears, trying to identify the source of the noise. "Mia, please," a faint voice floated toward her, trembling like a delicate string. It was Milo. Relief mixed with dread. "Milo! I'm coming!" she yelled, the determination sparking anew. She would not succumb to this darkness. With every ounce of strength she possessed, she fought against the shadows gripping her. Slowly, the unseen force began to yield, and she stumbled forward, propelled by her love for them. As she moved, the darkness writhed, coiling around her legs like a serpent, whispering twisted words of despair. "They're lost, Mia. You're too late." The voice was chilling, malevolent, feeding off her fear. "No! They're not lost," she shouted, her resolve igniting. "They need me." She pressed on. The surface beneath her shifted again, and she burst through a thin veil, and suddenly light blinded her. Bright, overwhelming light bathed her in warmth, and she shielded her eyes from its intensity. "Mom!" Milo's cry pierced through the haze. The brightness faded gradually, letting her focus on her surroundings. She found herself in the very playroom she'd been searching for, toys scattered about as if a storm had passed through. But this was no ordinary playroom. The walls seemed to ripple, memories shimmering within them, whispers overlapping until they grew to a deafening crescendo. "Milo! Sophie!" she gasped, turning to see her children huddled in the corner, wide-eyed and petrified. "Mia!" Sophie whimpered, pointing to the cloudy shadows gathering at the threshold of the room. The shadow had followed her. Anger and fear collided in her chest. Desperation surged as she shoved aside her dread and knelt before her children. "You have to listen to me. We have to stick together," she instructed, her voice steady, though trembling inside. "Don't let it take us," Milo cried, his tiny hands gripping her shoulders. Just then, the once solid door began to warp and ripple like water under a ferocious wind. The shadow began to seep through, tendrils reaching into the room, beckoning them toward oblivion. Mia's heart raced, and she felt her throat tighten. "Look at me!" she urged them, her eyes seizing theirs. "We can fight this together. Remember the light we saw? We can find it again." The whispers grew louder, intertwining sorrow and rage with the scent of despair. The chill of what was creeping closer curled around her. She could feel the pull of the shadow, a cold breeze washing over her. "Don't give in!" she screamed over the silent music of darkness. With her children by her side, she sprang to her feet, fists clenched. The shadow lunged, a black mass ready to consume, but Mia pushed against it, summoning every bit of courage. Could love be enough to drive back the darkness? Would it shield them from the horrifying fate that awaited? As she felt the shadows pressing in, all she could think was, what if this was just the beginning? Mia felt like she was standing at the edge of an immense chasm, the shadows swirling ferociously around her. The air grew heavier, wrapping around her like a shroud of impending doom. The world felt twisted as whispers hounded her, each one more anguished than the last. "Milo, hold on tight," she shouted, throwing an arm around her son, while reaching for Sophie with the other. The darkness writhed, snapping at them like an enraged beast. Tendrils coiled around her ankles, icy fingers dragging her down. She fought against them, her breath coming in jagged bursts, each inhalation a desperate plea for strength. "Please! We're together. We can't give up." Mia's voice trembled but resolute. With those words, she willed herself to think of the light, the warmth that had enveloped her before. Something deep within her ignited at the thought of her kids, their laughter, their smiles, life as they knew it. That flicker of hope was a beacon cutting through the suffocating darkness. The shadows recoiled slightly at her determination, as if her will affected their form. Taking a leap of faith, she led her children towards the door. "We're leaving this horrible place," Mia declared, the weight of fear on her chest slowly lifting. The door pulsed, a heartbeat of its own, resisting their advance. Mia pressed against the warped surface, fear flooding back as she remembered how they had almost been trapped before. The shadows rallied, faster now, boiling and thrashing in a frenzy. "It's fighting back," Milo cried, squeezing his mother's hand tighter. "We're not backing down. Focus on the light," she urged, her heart racing as she threw her weight against the door. It cracked open slightly, revealing a shimmering portal, flickering just like the light they had seen before. "Come on! We have to push," she shouted. The shadows lashed out, snapping closer and closer. Mia felt a sharp chill grazing her arm, putting a lump of ice in her throat. But she recalled their laughter, their warmth, fueling her resolve. Together, on 3. 1, 2, 3. With a final surge, they pushed forward, a united front against the encroaching darkness. The door creaked and groaned, but they squeezed through just as the tendrils lunged, snapping at the empty air. They landed on the other side, tumbling into what seemed like another world, one drenched in golden sunlight, flowers blooming vibrantly against crisp, blue skies. It felt like a dream, and Mia couldn't help but gaze wide-eyed at the impossible beauty stretching out before them. "Mia? Is this real?" Sophie stammered, her eyes darting around in disbelief. "It has to be," Mia said, confusion swirling in her mind. "It's different. But what about the shadows? Are we safe?" Just then, a shadow slithered at the edge of her vision, creeping forward like a thick fog rolling in. It was there, ominous and threatening, just as they had left it. The memories of the suffocating dark vortex prickled at her mind, igniting the fear all over again, but then laughter. Bright and clear, echoing through the vibrant world. It rang like a chime, knocking back the shadows momentarily. "Milo, do you hear that?" Mia whispered. "Yes," he replied, his face lighting up with hope. "It sounds like a party." Mia's heart shifted, a renewed urgency wrapping around her. "Milo! Sophie! We need to follow that sound. It could lead us to safety." They hurried toward the laughter, weaving through the vibrant landscape. Yet with each step they took, shadows loomed in the background, weaving ominous patterns of their intent. The laughter grew louder, but so did the whispers, suffocating, calling them back. "Are we really out?" Sophie asked, faltering as she glanced over her shoulder at the darkness swirling, pursuing their every move. They rushed forward but could feel the fear creeping back, and again, each echoing laugh flinging uncertainty at them. As the shadows chased them closer, Mia felt her heart pound like a drum. Was escape truly possible? What awaited them at the source of that laughter? Just when her breath caught in her throat, they stepped into a clearing. The sight stole away their breath. A carnival! Bright lights danced under a massive tent, laughter and music swirling everywhere like a sweet scent of cotton candy in the air. But stood there, watching, was a figure cloaked in shadows. It leaned against a tall pole, its eyes burning like distant stars in the darkness. The moment hung thick, and Mia's resolve tightened fist. What did that specter mean for their future? The children clung to her, fear etched on their faces. She had to remember. They fought back before. They could do it again, but could they dare to step beyond the laughter? What awaited in this bizarre carnival? That question haunted her like a chilling whisper, one that begged to be answered. Mia's heart raced as the figure's gaze bore down on them, tendrils of fear curling tight in her chest. The laughter echoed, a sweet melody dancing through the chaos, but it felt distant, almost mocking into the shifting shadows. Was this supposed to be a safe haven, or a trap? "Mom, what do we do?" Sophie whispered, her voice barely audible above the raucous festivity. Mia could see fear in her daughter's eyes, and felt a lump form in her throat. "Stay close to me," Mia replied, her voice steady despite the pounding in her head. "We need to keep moving." The shadowed figure pushed off the pole, advancing slowly, as though savoring every moment of their mounting dread. It moved gracefully, almost floating toward them, cloaked in a shroud that concealed its features. Yet those eyes, they glowed with a predatory hunger that sent shivers coursing down Mia's spine. "Welcome to the carnival," it spoke, the voice a chorus of otherworldly echo. Mia felt the shadows twist and thrum with the words, vibrating through the air like a warning. "The laughter you hear, it calls to you. Join us, and you'll be free." Mia felt a flicker of outright panic. "We're not joining anything," she replied, trying to sound braver than she felt. "We just want to leave." The figure laughed lightly, sending a ripple of unease through the vibrant colors of the carnival. And where would you go? The evening is still young. The darkness follows you, no matter how far you run. Embrace it, let it in. Milo tugged at her hand, eyes wide, as he glanced at the flickering lights illuminating those around them. "Mom, look!" he gasped. Mia turned her gaze. In the neon glow, she spotted children, their faces painted with cheerful grins, dancing and playing games. Yet, there was something unsettling about them. They seemed hollow, expressions frozen in exaggerated joy. "Mom, I feel weird," Sophie murmured, standing frozen in place. "Like they're trapped." "Keep moving," Mia urged, pulling at her children. They edged away from the thrumming revelry, yet every step felt heavy, as if the air itself pushed back against them. The figure tilted its head, shadows curling elegantly around it. "Don't you wish to join in the fun? It's so much easier to forget the darkness that lurks inside." It extended a hand, fingers elongated like talons. Mia clenched her jaw, determination flooding her veins. "We're not afraid of you," she shouted, her heart pounding in the face of the unknown. With renewed strength, they broke into a run, weaving through the vibrant madness, laughter and music crescendoing around them. The spectre-esque voice followed, silky and cruel. "But the darkness is not just around you, it's a part of you. You'll never truly escape. They'll always call you back." The shadows lunged, tendrils snapping at their heels, swirling like darkness released from a vicious storm. Bright lights flickered, casting ominous shadows that danced along their path. Every corner turned revealed another haunting echo of laughter, mourning a past they never lived. Suddenly, they stumbled upon a deserted midway, the colorful booths standing empty and decaying. Without warning, the laughter halted, plunging them into an echoing silence filled with dread. "Where are they?" Milo whispered, eyes darting warily. "Stay close," Mia managed to murmur, her instincts flaring. The carnival felt more like a trap now, like the shadows thickened, encircling them tighter. Then, from behind a weathered booth, a figure emerged, a girl around Sophie's age, eyes wide and wild, her clothes tattered like she'd run from a nightmare. "You have to leave," she cried, voice trembling. "You can't stay here. They'll take you." "Who will?" Mia asked, desperation creeping in again. "The darkness," the girl said, her face pale. "It wants you. You must go. Run." Before Mia could react, the shadows surged forward, rising like a living tide, reaching for them. The carnival's eerie chorus started to hum again, this time wrapping around her like a suffocating blanket. "Run!" Mia screamed, pulling her children toward the narrow path. But as they sped away, she could feel the tendrils of darkness invading her resolve, whispering sweet promises of acceptance and safety. In the distance, the laughter multiplied, echoing ominously. But the girl's terrified eyes stayed etched in Mia's mind. Who was she? Mia didn't dare to look back, but the shadows were relentless. Were they racing toward freedom or deeper into a trap? Every heartbeat felt heavier. What truly awaited them in this carnival of horrors? Would they still be whole when they escaped? Mia had to find out before it was too late. Mia pushed forward, breathing hard, her lungs burning with each desperate stride. The darkness clung to them like fog, whispering promises, echoing fears. Shadows twisted into grotesque shapes, flickering along the path, taunting her senses. "Milo! Sophie! Keep up!" she urged, her voice strained, her heart pounding in time with the frantic rhythm of their footfalls. They reached a cluster of crooked tents, flapping in the night breeze, their colors fading like hope. Mia squeezed her children's hands tighter, terrified of losing them to the encroaching gloom. But every heartbeat felt like time slipping away, as if the carnival wanted to swallow them whole. "Where do we go?" Sophie shouted, the panic in her voice matching the growing dread in Mia's chest. "I can't see anything. Just keep moving," Mia cried, leading them through what felt like a labyrinth of nightmares. The atmosphere thickened, and the air grew electric, crackling with an unseen energy that spurred their fear. As they rounded a corner, they stumbled upon a game booth, a carousel of monstrous stuffed animals, eyes glinting in the dark like cursed trophies. "Mom, look!" Milo pointed, his voice trembling. "What is that?" At the edge of the booth, a mirror stood, cracked and dusty, reflecting not just their terrified faces, but something else entirely. Mia leaned closer, a chill racing down her spine. In the glass, a shadow danced behind her, a featureless silhouette that stretched and twisted, resembling the figure from before. "Mia, get away from there!" a voice hissed, emerging from nowhere. Startled, they turned to see the girl with wild eyes reappear, her face even more frantic than before. "You can't look. You mustn't look." "What do you mean?" Sophie cried, fear etched in her voice. "The mirror shows you what the carnival wants you to see. It will trap you." The girl urged them, her breath coming in leaps. "You must turn away." The figures within the mirror pulsed, their laughter now a cacophony of sinister joy, beckoning them, luring them closer. Mia felt her stomach drop. She could almost hear the whispers, each one a memory, a regret, a moment filled with self-doubt. She felt them reach for her through the glass, clawing at her sanity. "Mom?" Milo's voice quaked, and Mia snapped back into focus. "Cover your eyes. Don't look," she shouted as she pulled them back. All at once, the laughter from the mirror morphed into shrieks, the darkness roiling as if enraged. "You can't resist forever. You belong to us." The shadows hissed, swirling like smoke around their legs. The girl grabbed Mia's arm, her grip urgent. "Follow me. This way." She yanked them away from the cursed reflection, weaving through the crooked stalls that seemed to close in around them, threatening their escape. They sprinted, the girl leading the charge, her eyes reflecting terror and determination. But even as they dashed through the carnival, Mia could feel the whispers growing louder, clawing at her mind, and a horrible heaviness settled in her limbs, a longing to surrender to the chaos. "Just a bit further," the girl shouted, her voice breaking through the turmoil. "We need to reach the Ferris wheel. It can help, it will reveal the truth." "Why didn't you say so earlier?" Sophie gasped, glancing around frantically. "Because you have to confront it. You have to face your fears. The carnival wants to break you," the girl breathed, her voice strained as they dashed toward the towering structure looming in the distance. The cries and laughter surged, a booming wave trying to pull them back into the darkness. "Keep running," Mia urged. She felt the weight of dread settle deeper, but she couldn't let fear control her. Her children depended on her. As they neared the Ferris wheel, the shadows crashed in a frenzy, almost tangible with their despair. Suddenly, the lights flickered, casting an eerie glow across the towering frame. "Get in!" the girl yelled, pointing toward an open cabin swaying gently in the wind. Without thinking, Mia propelled her children inside and leaped in after them, slamming the door shut just as a tendril of shadow lashed out, thrumming against the metal frame. Mia's heart raced, her breath quickening as the cabin rose. The laughter faded below, replaced by an oppressive silence. But then, as they reached the top, an explosion of color broke free, illuminating the carnival below. Mia gasped, eyes widening as she realized they were not alone in this strange ride. Faces flickered in the crowd beneath them, twisted, laughing, and sorrowful, each one a reminder of who they once were. As she turned to the girl, she caught a darker glimpse of her reflection in the window. A shadow loomed behind them, stretching from the booth, dancing tauntingly. "Look!" Sophie cried, panic rising again. Mia stood frozen, heart hammering, realizing they were not just safe at the top. They had become part of the very darkness they feared just as whispers flooded her mind. A single question echoed amidst the chaos. Would they be able to escape this nightmarish carnival alive? Or was the darkness pulling them into its eternal grip? Mia's breath hitched in her throat, eyes darting from the twisted faces below to the shadow coiling in their corner of the cabin. The darkness felt alive, a pulsing mass of fear and anguish wrapping around them. "Milo, Sophie, stay close," she whispered, her heart pounding, the urgency of the moment piercing through her fear. "They can see us, can't they?" Milo's voice trembled, his small frame quivering against her side. She squeezed his hand tighter. "Not if we don't let them." Mia forced herself to sound brave, though her voice cracked. She looked at the girl, who was biting her lip, eyes fixated on something moving in the shadow. "We need to act quickly," the girl said, her voice hoarse. "The carnival is feeding off your fear. If you lose focus, it will consume you." A loud creaking overhead broke Mia out of her stupor, and she felt the cabin sway ominously. "What do we do?" Sophie shouted, panic edging up in her voice, like smoke from a fire. "We have to harness that light." The girl pointed at the shimmering colors spilling from the top of the Ferris wheel, bathing the shadows below in hues of red, green, and blue. "It's not just for show. It's power. Connect to it." Mia's heart raced at the notion, a flicker of hope amidst the encroaching dread. "How?" she questioned, glancing down at the whispering nightmares thrumming just beneath them, eager to drag them back into the darkness. "Use your memories," the girl said urgently. "The happy ones. Grab onto them, and the carnival won't have a hold on you. It can't feed on pure joy." Gripping her children's hands, Mia closed her eyes. Instantly, images washed over her. Sunny picnics in the park, laughter over baking cookies, the first time they'd seen fireworks, hearts full of light. She concentrated, feeding the warmth into the air around them, forcing her shallow breath to expand with every recollection. But just as she felt a flicker of strength, the twisted faces below erupted in rage. Laughter morphed into screeches as the shadows lunged, desperate for the light they were creating. The cabin jerked violently, tilting forward as if the carnival wanted to send them spiraling down into madness. "No! Focus!" the girl shouted, her eyes blazing with an intensity that sparked a flicker of determination within Mia. She opened her eyes, steadying herself against the swaying cabin. "Think, kids! What makes you happy? What do you love?" Milo hesitated, then spoke, voice small but resolute. "I love watching the stars with you, Mom." Sophie chimed in immediately, "and building those giant snowmen last winter." Their words splashed color into the air, a glowing shield pushing against the shadows clawing at them. Mia felt the weight of hope grow, buoyed by her children's belief. But the call of darkness was relentless. An unholy roar erupted from beneath, a tidal wave of shadow crashing against their cabin. "You can't keep it. You're ours. Forever." Suddenly, the shadow ripped open, and an enormous face emerged from the darkness, a gnarled semblance of despair and rage, eyes burning like cold flames. "You can't escape your past," it howled. Mia's heart plummeted. It was true. The carnival knew her. It knew the pain she buried, the truth she locked away. But she wouldn't let it win. "We are not afraid," she shouted, channeling everything she felt into her voice as she pulled her children close. The swirling colors began to pulse dangerously, light battling darkness. The shadow shrieked, flailing as if caught in a tempest. At that moment, Mia understood defeating the darkness meant embracing every part of herself, even the shadowed corners she wanted to hide. With raw determination, she began to voice all her memories, both joyful and painful. "I remember my father's smile on sunny days. I remember the soft touch of my mother's hand. I remember the laughter of my children." Each word rang true and resonated with the lights, feeding the power of the Ferris wheel, but the shadow found a way. It lunged for the kids. Mia's heart stopped. A desperate length of time passed as she watched in horror, knowing what she had to do. She faced the dark visage with newfound courage, and at that very moment, they rocketed upward, the carnival below washing in brilliant light. "What is happening?" Sophie gasped, clinging to her brother. "I don't know," Mia shouted, the whirlwind of light enveloping them. More and more memories swirled around her, and as the shadows raged, it seemed only a matter of who would remain standing when the storm cleared. Would the brilliance split the darkness apart, or would they be consumed? In a final surge, Mia harnessed all she had, locking eyes with her children, their panic interlaced with determination, and all else faded into the sweet lull of silence. As the cabin swung, Mia realized the battle was just beginning, and questions rang louder than ever before within her mind. Could their strengths overcome the carnival's darkest desires? Or would they find themselves trapped in an endless loop of fear and despair? Suddenly, the peaceful silence shattered. An ear-piercing screech ripped through the air, rattling the cabin as the ground beneath seemed to tremble. The colorful light they had harnessed flickered, casting erratic shadows that danced wildly across the walls. Mia's heart hammered in her chest, grounding her once more in the terror that surrounded them. "What was that?" Milo whimpered, fear cascading through his words as he gripped her hand tighter. Mia bit her lip, trying to quell the rising panic. The shadows were not done with them. They could feel the sinister intent swirling beneath the cabin, writhing like snakes ready to strike. "We just need to hold on to the light," she assured, hoping her voice carried confidence it didn't quite possess. Just as she spoke, a massive shadow launched itself upward, reaching for them with long, claw-like tendrils, blacker than night. Mia's stomach dropped as she met the gaze of the seething darkness, its eyes glowing with a malevolent hunger. "Not now. Not today." Her voice came out fierce, a challenge to the entity that loomed over them. She closed her eyes again, focusing on her children, on how much she loved them. "Milo, Sophie, remember the light," she urged, each syllable sharper than glass. "Think of our family. Hold on to it. Don't let any shadows come near you." The shadows were relentless, beating against them like a storm. Screeches twisted into a dreadful melody, mounting in pitch with every second. Mia could feel the energy of darkness pushing against their collective light, threatening to fracture the bond they had formed. She could not let this happen. "Me?" the girl cried out, her voice struggling to rise above the chaos. "If we don't push back harder, it'll devour us." Mia opened her eyes, heart racing as she grasped the severity of their situation. Memories flooded her mind, like a tide threatening to sweep her away. She had buried so much guilt, regret, but also love and joy. It struck her in that moment. The darkness was only powerful because she allowed it to be. With renewed vigor, she inhaled deeply, channeling every feeling she had ever pushed down. "Remember the road trips? How we'd sing Beatles songs," she shouted, pouring warmth into her voice. She felt Milo and Sophie join her in spirit, as they recalled shared laughter, silly faces, and their playground adventures. Each joyous memory sparked more lights, igniting color into the cabin as they began swaying around them, a barrier against the tickling fingers of shadow creeping closer. More screams erupted from the depths below, as Mia's voice began to harmonize with her children's thoughts, a song of familial love, defying the very essence of terror. But the veil of darkness thickened, wrapping around them, whispering vile things, tearing at her confidence. "You're not enough, Mia. You will never escape. Your past has claws, and they will always find you." "No," Mia shouted back against the lingering doubts. "I am more than my past. We are a family. We are alive. And we will fight." With one final inhalation, she let the light burst forth. It exploded in all directions like a firework, breaking through the shadows that shivered in response, splitting them like ink in water. The shadows howled, their embodiment cracking apart under the immense brightness. But just as victory seemed within grasp, a moment of horrific clarity hit her. What if it was a trap? A trick to lure them into a false sense of security? The darkness wouldn't give up without a fight. It would only regroup. As the light valiantly pushed against the shadows, the gnarled face re-emerged once more, its eyes narrowing dangerously, tormenting her. You think this will save you? I will always be with you, waiting in the corners of your mind. Your fear is what I crave. Mia's heart raced as she felt the truth behind its words. Doubt spiraled within her, but she knew she had to stay strong, had to protect her children. Then let me show you what real strength looks like. She stood taller, embodying everything she felt: the love, the pain, the hope. We don't fear you anymore. And at that moment, just when Mia thought they might finally break free, the cabin lurched violently. The ground beneath them trembled, cracks snaking across the floor, a reminder that perhaps the battle was far from over. Darkness writhed below, climbing, reaching as though trying to pull them back down, dragging them into the depths of despair. As the cabin tilted precariously, Mia's heart ached with newfound resolve. Hold on! She shouted at her children, just as a rift of shadow opened beneath them, revealing an endless abyss of swirling nightmares. Would they be swallowed whole? Or was there a path out of this hell? Something deep in her told her that their journey had only just begun, and the true battle awaited. Mia's heart raced as the cabin swayed, the gaping maw of darkness below beckoning with sinister whispers. We want to go down there, she shouted, gripping her children's hands tighter, still standing on the brink of freedom or endless despair. The shadows surged, eager and relentless, but as it reached for them, a flicker of hope ignited bright within her, a candle in an oppressive storm. Focus on the light, Mia yelled, determination pouring from her heart. She closed her eyes, summoning every joyful memory, every tender laugh. The warmth of summer days spent in the park, the sounds of their combined giggles while baking cookies, the sparkle of snow as they built their first snowman, it all flooded back like a river forcing its way through a dam. Suddenly, Sophie's voice broke through, fragile but fierce. I remember the time we played hide and seek at home. You couldn't find us for ages. Me too, Milo chimed in, his innocent laughter pouring out as if igniting the spark of powerful light. Mia smiled, her heart swelling with love as the memories melded into energy, pushing the darkness back just a bit more. The twisted face of terror roared, its shadowy limbs thrashing against the light. You can't just forget your past, it screamed, voice dripping with malice. You are still afraid, Mia. You can't escape me. Mia felt her resolve waver for a moment, fear creeping back in like a cold draft. But she shook her head, grimacing against the uncertainty. I am not afraid of you. Together, we are stronger than you think. With that, she took a deep breath, channeling everything into a clarion call. Our love and memories are brighter than your darkness. Opening her eyes, she let the shining warmth radiate through the cabin. The cabin rocked and shimmered with light, energy surging as the swirling shadows recoiled. The glowing energy enveloped them, flaring brighter with each cherished thought uttered. We're standing here together, she cried, and we will not let you take us. With one mighty push, Mia led her children, feeling the spirit of triumph behind her. The shadow howled bitterly as the cabin jerked, tilting away from the abyss. The colors erupted outward, chasing back the lurking darkness, illuminating the carnival below in brilliance. Keep holding on. We're almost there. In that moment, they lifted higher and higher, reaching the apex of the Ferris wheel, where the carnival lay spread out like a nightmarish tapestry. As the light broke through the clouds of despair, the twisted figures below distorted and faded, their sounds intermingling with each other, collapsing into a swirl of forgotten screams. And then, they fell. The cabin plunged gracefully back down, a backward arc of fate that seemed almost to defy gravity. Just as the shadows surged amidst the entreaties of the carnival, Mia felt the tug of gravity beneath them. Collectively, they landed on solid ground, the carnival fading behind them under the brightness of the sun. "We did it!" Milo shouted, adoring the lush green grass that surrounded them. Mia pulled them close, tears streaming down her cheeks, relief mingling with the fading echoes of darkness. "We really did it," she whispered, hardly believing it. As they embraced, the memories of their nightmarish journey remained, vivid but muted. They exchanged glances, a bond stronger than fear now forged between them, a bond unshakable with light and love. The carnival faded into the distance, the darkness diminishing. As they began to walk hand in hand toward the waiting world, a warmth enveloped them, a reminder that home was not merely a place, but a feeling. "Mom, do you think that darkness will ever come back?" Sophie asked, uncertain but hopeful. "In this world, we all have our shadows," Mia said softly, kneeling in front of them. "But as long as we're together, we can face whatever comes. Love is the strongest light we have, and I'll always protect you. Let us go home." Milo cheered, his laughter echoing like music. And with that, they left the echoes of the carnival behind, stepping into a new dawn together. As they began their journey back toward home, warm sunlight stretching before them, a glimmer of hope filled the air, shining through the remnants of yesterday's terror. "Remember, the darkness may always be close, but the light sparked by the bonds we hold will always lead the way. So, don't miss out on the next exclusive stories. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel, so you stay in the loop. Smash that like button now to help us thrive in the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your reactions and thoughts about the ending. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.